Wait, hold on. I just realized I never took my... Oh, probably too late at this point. Never mind. If I haven't taken my pills by now, I just am not going to be taking my pills. Never mind.
Well,
when Maddy dies from consumption during this podcast,
no, it's just hormones. I'm gonna die of my titties being too small.
Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where you play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck.
I'm Maddy Grace Webben.
I'm Anthony Lerma.
And today we'll be playing part 3 of Suikoden 2, covering up until we get elected leader of the city-state as a 14-year-old boy.
Now, y'all were saying we get elected like president of the city-state, and it's not quite that. We're commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but we're not like in charge of domestic affairs.
No.
We're just a 14 or whatever year old commander-in-chief.
Yeah, the FAQ said that you become leader of the castle, and I assume, having not played the game before, I figured that was the city-state castle because it was unnamed and all of these things. And when I got there, I'm like, oh, I was wrong, but not by much.
Yeah.
Not by a lot. But before we get to all of that, how was everybody's week?
Oh, I forgot we do this. My week was a little annoying because the guides for this game are real bad for the most part. I feel bad about complaining because people did this shit for free 2 decades ago, but still, I'm going to complain. Basically, I was reading and I was like, shit, I really want to get all 108 characters in this playthrough, but there's this side quest that you have to complete in 20 hours throughout the game in order to do everything. So I got to do that. But I spent tons of time just grinding and wandering around aimlessly. So I got to replay the whole game, fast forwarding through cutscenes and stuff. And then I get caught up and I finally find a guide that's decent and doesn't have a ton of spoilers. It's basically just showing you how you recruit each character in order. And I figure out you don't need to do that whole guide to get that whole side quest to do 108 characters. So I replayed everything for nothing.
Jesus Christ.
Cool.
But it was fun. I got to hear a lot of good music, sometimes sped up by 4 times.
That sounds horrible.
It wasn't too bad. It was fun-ish.
So
at least I was doing it for a real good game.
Yeah, so my life was fun. I had something going on that I didn't want to share last week because I was trying to be sensitive about when to share it with the information with my partner, so I didn't want to just blurt it out on a podcast. But y'all listening, the 3 of y'all know because I shared it in the group chat. So last week, the wonderful management of the United Postal Service,
Parcel Service, excuse you,
United Parcel Service, with their new CEO, whose name is some fucking lady, which is Jane. That's going to be a problem. What?
Jane Ligma?
Sorry, my GF is making gestures at me. Anyway, our bitch CEO, some lady. Anyway, my pay cut got cut. My pay got cut from $21 an hour to $15 an hour.
Normal.
Which is an insane amount of pay to get cut. It's about 30% of my pay. It's $6 entire dollars, which, do the math, that's a lot of money. And obviously we're all very upset about this. Again, this actually happened last week before we recorded, but I didn't bring it up. Yeah, so we've been freaking out, like, what are we going to do about this? Is the FBI listening to this podcast and is going to report whatever I say to fucking Carol Tomei? No, they're not going to it. Anyway, we've all been trying to figure out what we can do inside the shop to try and fight back against this, and the answer is there's certainly some things that can be done, as in any labor struggle situation. So we're all, and I'm totally fresh to this kind of stuff. I've learned a lot, and I've helped out other people with their stuff, but I've never been in it with my own personal job, right? It's never been my job that is the one under attack. It's always been someone else's. So it's been a bit of a trial by fire for me. But anyway, yesterday I learned pretty last minute that the union leadership of our local had approved a rally this morning of the drivers coming out to support us. The drivers who, for the record, did not get their pay cut. It's only the part-time inside package handlers that got their pay super cut. So mega shout out to the drivers of Teamsters Local 70, because they came out and did a big rally and are committing to fight for not their own wages, which is the whole point. That is in fact the whole point. So fucking good on them, right? But yeah, so I spent the last 24 hours, more than that, the last 29, 30 hours or so preparing for and trying to do everything I can for this sort of thing. And in case y'all don't remember, I work a night shift, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., and then the rally was at 8 a.m. So that was fun. I got an hour and a half of sleep. I came home and then crashed for what seemed like ages, but in retrospect, it was 3.5 hours, which means I am in total just getting the same amount of sleep I normally get. Just I got it in the late afternoon, right before podcasting.
You should probably get more sleep on average.
Yeah, well, and I've been doing better about that, for those of y'all who are worried about me. But I'm saying,
always worried about you.
When shit hits the fan, it's normal for me to get like 4 hours of sleep or 3, right? And this is definitely a shit hit fan situation.
Yes.
So that's what's been going on with me, and it's going to continue. Going on. Luckily, I've got people. On a personal level, I've got people I know and trust who can help me out with my own contributions to this kind of stuff. And there's also a lot of other. There's already lots of great people who are in the local who are already know what they're doing and doing a good job, and our local has good leadership. So all the pieces are in place to push back against UPS in their jerkish ways. So that's good. That's good. It's going to be very exciting times for me. Yeah, other than that, I pretty much just wrote notes for this game and played a very small amount of Final Fantasy 13 2, and finished reading a book, and finally started reading a book that Bernard's been telling me to read for like a literal decade. The Stranger by Camus.
I don't even know if it's good anymore. I just know I liked it a decade ago.
Yeah. And it's not like it's like, oh, I'm so excited about this book that Bernard loves so much. It's just like, man, this book sure has been on my bookshelf for a long time, huh?
It's a really fucking short book.
Yeah, it probably took about 5 years of Bernard constantly just, occasionally mentioning it whenever I'm like, what book should I read? He's like, The Stranger's really good. After about 5 years, I finally bought a copy of it, and now 5 years later, I'm reading it.
And I'm like, I don't even know if it's a good book.
So far, it's pretty good. It's very literary, which is...
That's true.
Very French.
That's true.
That's actually not true. It's without belaboring the point too much. The introduction has the translator, and I know nothing about this book or Camus, for the record. Except that he's like a mid-century pre and post-war guy. And the book takes place in Algiers, which All right. Anyway, the translator mentioned that apparently Camus was very influenced by American writers when he wrote this book. Mm-hmm. So the book is kind of written in what is like the French equivalent of like what you get from like Hemingway. So the translator tried to honor that. So yeah, it kind of reads like Hemingway, which means it does not read like other French literature that I've read, which is cool. And I'm a big Hemingway nut. So, short, punchy sentences. Like, we're not really going to delve into these characters very much. We're just going to like describe what happens, and their psychology is kind of just something you have to infer. Like, it's good. It's good shit. I like it. Anyway, that's my life. What about you? What about you, Sam?
So at first, when you said that you were reading The Stranger, I at first thought you said Strangers by Dean Koontz, which I thought would be very weird to be a recommendation from Bernard.
Oh yeah, that book is too literary for me, man. That book is too sophisticated.
Dean Koontz is too French for me. I've never read Dean Koontz, but I don't imagine he's very French.
Yeah, I say this with the utmost love, but you were my two most pretentious friends, so I should never have thought that it was.
I've heard Dean Koontz is really good, actually. I all those authors that just write like sort of just like trashy potboilers, and he's the one whose books are apparently like, in addition to being trashy potboilers, actually like really, really good, right?
Yeah, he's my my favorite like dime store novelist.
Yeah, I've always wanted to give him a shot. Actually,
he puts out potboiler shit that is valid. It can be good.
It can be really good.
Yeah. Like my favorite thing about him is it always feels like he's sitting across from me at the table telling you a really cool story. It feels like you're like right there connected with the author while he's telling it, which is really like
that's cool,
really cool, and I really really like it. If you only read one book of his, read Odd Thomas. The slightly more pretentious than me people will say to read The Strangers or The Watchers, but those were just his old ones, and that's why everybody loves them. Odd Thomas is fucking phenomenal, like hands down one of the best books I've ever read. But
well, I will say nowadays my number one motivation reading books is to get them off of my bookshelf so that I can have more room on my bookshelf. So if anyone ever wants me to read a book, all you gotta do is give it to me as a gift, and I will read it. It won't sit on there for years because I want that shit off of my bookshelf. Unless it's too good, in which case it'll stay on my bookshelf, in which case that's actually a problem. So don't get me any books that are too good. Okay. But anyway, if you ever sent me a Dean Koontz book, I would read it. Also, the bigger, the better, because the bigger it is, the more space it's taking up on my bookshelf, and the more incentivized I am to read it.
That's why it took you so fucking long to read The Stranger.
Exactly. It's honestly not a very efficient use of my time to read this book. It's so small.
But I just looked up Odd Thomas. Turns out it's a series, and every book in the series has the word odd in the title.
Yes.
That's classic. Love that shit.
Deeply Odd, Forever Odd, Odd Hours, Saint Odd, Odd Apocalypse,
Odd World, Abe's Odyssey.
Yeah, so I really love the first book, the first three books, and the last book. The ones in the middle kind of are weird and not that great. But the first book, he did not plan on writing a sequel. The sequel came to him like 5 years later. So the fact that it is a series should not trick you into reading 7 books. You can read just the first one.
If I read it, I will probably just read the first one.
Yeah. Maddy, I think you would like the whole first trilogy because the third one is weird, like Catholic shit, and you're all about weird Catholic shit.
Love that.
But anywho, what I did this week, speaking of Maddy not sleeping well, so yesterday Storm just would not go to sleep, but it not in the way like he wanted to be up and play. He would like you would go in the room and he would be like, no, don't touch me. So then you would leave and he would be like, no, don't leave me. And that happened for like 3 hours and it really sucked. And me and Summer were supposed to have like a date night yesterday. We were going to watch a whole bunch of TV, sit on the couch, enjoy each other's company. And then 3 hours of that was taken by a tiny screaming baby. And so we were like, you know what? Let's pull an all-nighter and take our life back. And let's stay up all night, watch TV all night, caffeinate our way through work, go to sleep right when work's done, and that'll be fine. Everything will be awesome.
That sounds like a bad idea.
It was a very bad idea because we were getting ready to give up on that idea at about 1:00, and then Storm woke up again and would also not go back to sleep for another hour or so. And so I'm very exhausted because the appropriate amount of sleep is all of it or a little nap. If you get in between all of it and a little nap, your day sucks. So whatever your all of it number is and whatever your nap number is, those are constants in your life, and you get anything in the middle of those two numbers, and it fucking sucks.
That's very, very, very true. The only time you should ever do that is if you have to, which I had to today, which is why I feel terrible. I didn't have time for all of it, and just a little nap would have meant that I had slept a total of 2 hours entirely, which would have been not nearly enough. So I had to get more. But it sucks.
It sucks. Hate it. But I have caffeine now, so everything else is good. I also can't do math, and by math I mean read a calendar, because I get paid on the last day of the month, but it pays you early if the last day of the month is on a weekend. And so I, knowing that January has 30 days in it, was like, awesome, I get paid on Friday. Everything is going to be great. Planned out my weekend for all my grocery shopping and everything. And I get paid on Monday morning. So,
you goofo.
So I now have no plans for the weekend because none of it is doing the errands that I needed to be paid for. But yeah, that's me. What about you, Anthony? How was your week?
It was pretty good. This weekend, I went to a child's birthday party, and as a childless person, it's always an odd way to be because you're drinking around kids, which is never a good sign of positive things.
TFW, your life is going great.
Yeah, well, the kids are always having the best time, and you're just sitting there eating cake, and it's just you're looking around, chatting, and you're just like, man, I wish I was playing on the playground. That sounds so much more fun. And then Sunday, I went to the dog beach, which is more my speed.
Dog beach.
So it's because it's LA winter, so it's in the mid 60s. So sorry, Sam.
It's 19 right now. It was negative 16 yesterday morning.
But the good thing is no crowds. So you're just there, the sand, and just hanging out. And it's I'm reading the Mistborn series right now. So I was reading that on the Kindle, and it was fun. Because
love me some Brandy Sandy.
Yeah. He's great. It's just it's all his books are good.
Good.
Yeah. But yeah, so it was relaxing, affirming, and just I don't know, more social, which is always a plus.
Maybe I should get Maddy a copy of The Way of Kings because it's gigantic and it'll make her read it.
Okay, I think I want you to re-say the sentence that you just said and think about the specific words that are in it. This MF wants me to read a book called This MF wants me to read a book called The Way of Kings. Come on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Branderson Sanderson's masterpiece, The Stormlight Archive, is way too dense and way too big for most people to interact with at all. And unfortunately, it's great. So once you read it, you're like, oh my god, I want all of my friends to read this. And none
I'm not
of
reading
them
anything
ever will.
that big and dense if it doesn't got spaceships in it. Sorry.
Well, technically.
Don't give me that shit. No, don't even.
No, so it doesn't have spaceships, but it is in the greater MCU universe of the Mistborn series that Anthony is reading, which does take place on a separate planet, and they all do travel in between the planets. So, well, technically.
My soul is escaping from my body right now.
Yeah, no, the books are great, and they are not for everyone. But if anyone listening loves big-ass fantasy books with great world building where every character is depressed, you should read The Stormlight Archive.
Yeah.
If I wanted a big, dense, stupid story where everyone's depressed, I'd study history.
That's what I do.
I thought you were going to say I'd play Suikoden 2 as a segue.
Also,
Good
maybe.
segue.
Well, we already played Chrono Cross, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the one where everyone's depressed.
I'll say the Way of Kings isn't depressing. You get 3 POVs. It's like a better Game of Thrones
Yeah.
because it's less sex and more fighting. But the fight scenes and the way he describes it, it's like you can almost picture people like 3-dimensional. Like he's so good at just describing things. I
Yeah.
think.
It's
Couldn't
Yeah,
be
Really
me.
good.
and
Should not be you.
the world building is real big and real dense and real cool and real consistent. So like if I were to try to tell you why I cried when Syl turned into a shard spear instead of a shard blade, I'd be here for like 6 hours just trying to get to that point. But when it happened while I was reading it, it was fantastic. So highly recommend it for literally the listeners and none of the people sitting here.
Sam, did you see the Wheel of Time? Did you?
Yes.
So Brian Sanderson helped write the back half of that, right?
No,
So-
the front half of that.
Front half of that.
Yeah.
So I think I haven't seen it yet, but apparently they have like episodes where he's like, he was a consultant, and so they just interview him after every episode, and he's like, yeah, I told him this is not consistent. Like, so he's like that guy who just goes like, no, they would never do that. They would never do this. This was incorrect.
Yeah.
This is for the show. And I love that because I'm like, damn, someone just knows his stuff, and it's not even his series.
Yeah, it's so good. I really loved it, and I'm excited for season 2. But I'm also excited for Suikoden 2.
Okay, wait, hold on. I have to cut in.
God damn it.
No. I was waiting to make sure that you were done. We're not going to discuss this because I don't open up a can of worms. But I remembered one more very important thing, which is that I developed the most galaxy brain take, which is that as of my most recent rewatch this last week, The Matrix 3, The Matrix Revolutions, is the Wachowskis' best film. All right, let's talk about Suikoden 2.
Wow.
Such a you opinion.
Wow.
I need to rewatch them. So let's do Suikoden 2 stuff. So, Maddy, precisely where we left off was at the fancy tree scene. So, take us from there.
So, fun fact, I played all of this last week, rushing through to get through it, and then so my notes were very scant for the latter parts. Then turns out we didn't get through all this stuff, so I didn't have to play anymore. So I went back and punched up my notes. So this is a punched up version of my previously scant notes. So you're not going to get side NPC stuff because I didn't do that shit. I didn't have time for it. But also it turns out that I ran out of time for punching up my notes as well. So you'll notice a significant drop off in detail towards the end here. Sorry. The cool thing is, the reason why I was so scant to begin with was because most of this week is unnecessary side quests. I'll just drop that there. It's just character side quests. You learn more about some guys. That's it. As far as big plot stuff goes, very little of importance happens. But it was quite a bit of gameplay time wise. So we get to really dig into it and talk about some characters that if we were going faster, we wouldn't have gotten to talk about. So hooray! When we last left our heroes, they had just escaped from the destruction of Mu City, and literally were talking about their feelings while camped out in the world map. The next morning, we continue on our way to the south to Coronet. At this point, the party is the main character, Toby, and his sister, Nanami, and the mute Pilika, and that's it.
And Pilika, we don't use in battle, of course. So we just got 2 people.
Yep. So we continue on our way to the south to Coronet. As we enter, Nanami says, we need to take this ship south to Couscous. We're curious how she knows this, but she learned it from a, quote, cute map maker she met. Curious. Highland has forbade the boats here from leaving, and the sailors are all too chicken to defy them. After some exploration, we see some familiar faces. One of the familiar faces, bemoaning the cowardice of the locals, wonders if perhaps a handsome man could be persuaded, and by that she means seduced, and by that she means smooched, and by that she means fucked, into growing a bit of a spine. That's right, folks. It's our favorite sisters, Ellie and Rena. If you all forgot, Rena is the older one, and she's the one who's into seducing. So they, and also their bro, Humphrey Bogart, Bulgin, that's right, are excited to run into us.
Humphrey Bogart shows up later.
That's right. So they're really excited to see us. Rena thinks that Nanami is Toby's girlfriend, but upon learning she's actually our sister, she's like, oh, that's good, huh, Ellie? Huh, Ellie? That's pretty good, huh? Isn't that a nice happenstance that this young man remains single, my sweet little sister? What an interesting thing to learn, wouldn't you say? Anyway, so we continue exploring, and then we meet another person trying to get south, a hero-looking type named Sheena, who is a dude, asking...
As established last week, Sheena is a he-him lesbian.
Yep. Yes. Asking for the services of Taiho and his younger brother, Yam-ku. Tai refuses, but at our additional insistence, he's like, fine, let's just play dice for it. Let's roll the chance cubes. So we have a dice minigame. It's whatever, who cares? When we win the dice minigame, he says he now has to go, so as not to tempt fate. Has to go as in he has to take us on his boat. He's like, well, the dice said I gotta do it, so I wouldn't want to go against the chance cubes. However, Nanami feels that these two are, quote, unsavory, and that we shouldn't go with them alone, aka just the three of us to there too. I'm not really sure why they're unsavory, but this is obviously a contrived excuse for us to go back and tell Ellie, Rena, and Borgin that we found a guy so that we can all party up, so I'm not complaining. So we do that, and we leave Sheena behind, which is funny because Sheena also definitely wanted a boat, and we wanted.
And this is only 5 people. We have space for her, but
I don't know why. I guess because he's going to come back later. So
I know I say this all the time, but Taiho and his brother are from the previous game.
Nice.
Basically, everyone in this game is from the previous game.
Nice. So we get to Couscous, and then we travel further to South Window. Victor is relieved that we made it. Oh yeah, Victor's there. He's like, oh my god, I think I made it. He's also like, geez, dude, how do you have so many hot ladies with you? To which Ellie is like, how dare you? Much to Rena's pleasure. I know there's like 108 fucking stars of Destiny in this goddamn game, but I would really like it if they actually do develop a romance thing with Ellie, because she's a sweetheart. And if it's just the whole game is like she clearly likes you and they don't do anything with it, I'm gonna be kind of sad because she's great. Come on, go for it, Toby. Anyway, Victor can hardly believe Joey would do such a thing either. The thing being murdering the queen. So at the inn, we reunite with Flick and learn that they also had a rough time and just arrived yesterday, and no one else has. So not a great start. So we need to go visit Mayor Grandmeyer to basically ask for his patronage and say, hey, can we use your town as like a home base while we go build, arm, train, and feed an army? Grandmeyer is like, great. You work for me now. Please do vampire side quest. So we're off.
To be clear, not a side quest. You do actually have to do it.
Well, I'm gonna get there. So we're off to do. Well, I think the word side quest can be a little loosely used sometimes. Sometimes people mean side quest, and really what they mean is like subplot or fetch quest, right? Where it's like, okay, you have to do this. It just isn't important, right? Yeah. Anyway, so we're off to do Vampire Side Quest, which, to be clear, is not called Vampire Side Quest and does not obviously involve a vampire yet. It also tries to present itself as something more than a mere side quest. But on this podcast, we believe in honesty and integrity and moving at the speed of trust. So in the interest of good faith, multi-tendency podcasting, we ought to be transparent about the spirit as well as the letter of the question. So we go do Vampire Side Quest. In the city of North Window, where Victor's originally from, reports have come in about multiple disappearances of young girls. We go to investigate, along with a new party member, a dude named Freed, who has
His name is
No.
Freed Y.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Freed Space Y. I wonder if his name is supposed to be like Freedy or Freddy.
Yeah.
And this was just a spectacular transliteration.
All I have to
mistake.
say about him is he has no distinguishing qualities. So I will
also-
say, though,
As the guide points out, one of the shit worst characters battle-wise in the entire game, and you're forced to use him for the rest of our
seem
playthroughs
good. I'm
today.
glad the guide agrees.
Also, he hasn't narked on anyone yet, but I get the feeling he would.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we go to investigate along with Freed. Also, it's mentioned that this is going to be emotionally difficult for Victor, possibly on account of the vampire, because it's the vampire side quest. So anyway, we're interrupted by an FMV. The camera pans down the stained glass walls and giant pipe organ of an enormous, luxurious cathedral. The pipe organ is being played, and we glimpse its player draped in a huge cape as well as shadow. We see a profile view, a pale-faced man with red eyes and fangs. I wonder who that is. Anyway, we proceed with Vampire Side Quest. Back at the hotel, Ellie says she's coming with us, but Rena needs to stay behind and look after Pilica. She also bluntly suggests that Flick stays too, to which Victor is like, well, bye. So we travel to North Wind. I also hope they develop that, by the way. So we travel to North Window. It's largely uninhabited. There's an enormous graveyard. Victor says these are all the victims of the Draklord, a vampire. I wonder what he looks like and if he can play the... What?
That's not what he's called. He's not the Draklord.
What's he called?
The Necklord.
I literally forgot already. Oh, I say Necklord later on. Anyway, he's a vampire. I wonder what he looks like and if he can play any musical instruments. When Victor was younger, the Necklord murdered and sucked the blood out of literally everyone except for Victor, who happened to be away at the time. When he found out, he murdered the fuck out of the Necklord. Then the Necklord appears and is like, I lived, bitch. We have a forced lost battle and get super owned. He's like, I bet you need the Star Dragon sword like last time, huh? All right, go get it, bitch. I'll destroy you and the sword this time around. I'm going to be waiting in that castle over there. Well, bye. Also, I want to point that he does literally say, I'll be waiting in that castle over there.
It's true. That is the exact quote.
Really, really funny way of saying that.
I do want to point out, this is all in reference to Vampire Side Quest from Suikoden 1, which also had Vampire Side Quest.
Yeah.
Was it the same character who did everything? Or
Yes.
Yeah,
so it was
that's what
Victor.
Victor's
He
upset
gets the
about.
Star Dragon sword. You fight the Necklord. The Necklord totally dies, but now we find out he didn't die, and now Victor has to get the Star Dragon sword again to kill the Necklord again.
So it turns out the Star Dragon sword is one of the 27 true runes, or troons. We go to a cave to get it, but on the way we meet Con Marley, vampire hunter. He says Necklord has a, quote, doppelganger secret. So we need both the sword and...
And it's in quotes, and for some reason it's really funny.
Yeah. So, I was going to share my doppelganger's... Oh, wait. I was going to share my dop secret with you. Anyway, so we need both the sword and the, quote, night rune to cast the spirit out of the doppelgangers and also seal the spirit away. So Marley joins the party. It turns out later they made a movie of this game, and instead of Marley, it was two guys named Marley, both named Marley. We found the sword, and they were played by puppets for some reason. We found the sword, and it turns out the sword is not just a cool sword, it's also an annoying guy. The sword bickering with Victor is like going to be a thing. I'm not going to go into it at all. But
it's not very funny.
And so far isn't important plot-wise either. But just so you know, the sword's also an annoying guy, and he's always saying shit. So we go to confront the Necklord, and he does the thing where he's like, wait, look, it's Daisy. Presumably your Victor's girlfriend from like the previous game or something. Put the sword down, and I'll give her back to you. So we've seen this trope a million times. But this being Suikoden 2, they couldn't just play it straight. No. They had to do it with pastiche and also bespoke animations.
The best fucking bespoke animation in
Victor,
the history of
again, I've seen this a million times, and I wouldn't normally feel strongly about it, but then they do it so good. So yeah, it's like, oh look, I'll give you back your dead girlfriend if you throw down your sword. I'm just a little guy. But Victor, he doesn't just see through the trick and accept that his past love is long dead and the body he sees in front of him can never replace her. No, he chops her goddamn head off.
Yep.
He grabs the sword, pretends like he's about to give it to the Neck Lord, and then slices her head off, to which it goes pew, and plops on the fucking ground next to him. It rules.
It's so fucking good.
And also I like how
so fucking badass.
It like becomes apparent it's like some sort of hollow doll thing when it falls apart.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, so the the Neck Lord is like, fuck, bye. So he leaves and does that thing where you leave, but then you leave a boss for us to have to fight.
If I recall correctly, there is no, like, indication that he's leaving a boss. He just leaves, and then a boss battle starts.
Exactly. It's exactly how it is. So
he doesn't even say you are a puppet or anything. It just happens.
So yeah, we fight the boss. It's actually pretty tough because, as Bernard mentioned before we recorded, we no longer have buddy attack. So he leaves, and presumably will come back later. Also, after this battle's over, Marley leaves our party to go chase after him. Again, presumably to come back later. So we save the day. So we go back to South Window, and yet again...
and this is every time.
Every time we leave a city, and then, okay, from now on, no leaving cities. We should just go to one city and stay there for the rest of the game. Because what happened? That's right. The bad guys came and murdered everybody. This time they didn't set everything on fire. Or they did, and it was off screen. And is no longer on fire. But it is a little bit different. Instead of invading the town and burning everything to the ground, they had their army massed, led by the General Solon G. They massed their army, and the Mayor Grandmeyer, seeing the way the wind blows, was like, there's no possible fucking way we can win. If we try to fight, we'll just get our entire town burned to the ground, like some kind of damn JRPG. So he surrenders. So they peacefully come into the town and put it all under martial law, and then the next day, everyone in the castle is dead, and Grandmeyer's head was like hanging from a light pole or something. What?
Oh, I thought you had skipped that part. I forgot it happened the next day. Yeah. They do that too, because they're not nice.
Exactly. So yeah, so they did kill everyone in the castle. The castle is now empty, but the town is now just being occupied. So what the hell are we gonna do? So it turns out that Flick, our friends managed to survive, and they also managed to get some of our old friends. I actually forgot to write down their names, but we at least got Apple, my wife. What?
I just laughed.
I thought you were gonna say something. Yeah. So Apple's awesome. Dude, she did exist previously, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't actually remember, but Apple's someone who I think was in the previous week's episode, but I don't know if I actually mentioned her or not. But yeah, she's just a cutie pie, and she's got glasses. So she says, we can't ever give up hope. Look, we've got an abandoned castle we can use for a base, and we can round up soldiers. But however, we are going to need to figure out a better strategy, or we'll never beat Luca. None of us are military strategists, so we're going to go on another side quest. Again, that I should say, fetch quest. So we're going to go to the town of Redact to find the genius military strategist, Shu. So
I do want to jump in and give some context from the previous game. So in the previous game, your military strategist who's with you like for the whole game and stuff is named Matthew, except it's spelled weird.
The guy is about to be mentioned. Cool.
Yeah. So you recruit him early in the game to come be your strategist. And he had given up fighting and being in war and stuff, but you convince him to come away from the school that he has started. You convince him to come and join you. Later, you find young Apple, and she's like, fuck you for taking Matthew away. I'm going to join your army now. And she doesn't fight. She just is in the castle. She doesn't do anything. She's just there. But apparently Shu is another student of Matthew's. Like, there isn't a major character named Shu. It's possible that in some NPC dialogue, one of the other students is named Shu. But yeah, they're getting another student of Matthew's.
Nice. Dave Matthews. So we go to Radat and we meet Shu. And again, I would love to be able to give you a rundown of what's going on in this town, but at the time I was really rushing, so did not have time. I'm sorry. Maybe I can go back and do it later, because I really do like explaining all the NPC dialogues, because they really flesh out the game's world, especially because in this game, the NPC dialogue is not always like memorable in the way that I'm going to bring it up memorable moments, but it's all really good and weaves together a tapestry of a real place. But also, boy, oh boy, are they always giving them new lines after important plot events. Constantly, to a degree met by very few games. Except for the other games that y'all are all playing, yes.
I was like, man, people never change their dialogue in this game.
Right?
I found like each town changes like at least like once, which again is more than most games.
Yeah.
I will say in the first week there was a lot more of it, because we were going around the same location a whole lot more. Also, last week I accidentally explored a town that was not remotely necessary to explore, and they were referencing events that had like just happened in the plot. And I'm assuming when we go back later as part of the actual game's main narrative, they'll say different stuff. So that's cool, because it wouldn't make sense for them to keep saying the stuff they were saying last week. Like, hey, wow, I can't believe that this thing just happened, right? I sure hope that the City of Muse will protect us, things like that. The City of Muse still exists. So anyway, Shu, we meet him, and he's a big jerk. He's lost all faith in the ability of people to help each other, and now he just wants to make money. He's like, look, war's a racket. It sucks. It's bad. People are never going to stop fighting. I might as well just get some fucking money off of it. Like, whatever, right? He and Apple go way back, as Bernard mentioned. They both studied under Master Dave Matthews. So we're like, I'm not going to help you. Go fuck yourself. So we go and we explore. There's a lot of exploration here. But one thing that we end up doing is we find a private eye who is a straight up gumshoe with his own gumshoe music. I forget it. What's his name?
Richmond.
I didn't think he's going to be an important character, so I didn't actually write his name down. So yeah, there's this whole thing where he helps us. I'm not going to go into it, but he's cool, and he goes and investigates.
He's literally Dick Gumshoe.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So he helps us. Well, he's more competent than Dick Gumshoe. Sure. So he tells us that since Shu only cares about making money, there's going to be some big like business transaction happening on this bridge to the east. So if we can ambush him, we could we could get a jump on him and really force his hand. So we do that. We confront him, and a bunch of stuff happens that I kind of forget here. I kind of blazed past this part and didn't come back around to flesh it out. But the important part is that after doing all this begging and trying every which way to convince him to help us, he eventually and also I should say, obviously he knows Apple. They go way back. He's like toying with Apple and kind of like ruthlessly like being very terrible to her. At one point he makes her get down on her knees and beg. He's just like being a real jerk to her specifically, very abusive.
I didn't really like this part. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. I felt that him making her beg and then doing what Maddy's going to talk about.
It didn't come to much. Although I did like the ending, which we're about to get to.
I can give a bit more detail about the what you have to do to get him to join you if you like, because I played it recently and I remember.
Well, all the coin stuff I know. I'm about to get to that.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. That's what I actually like. I just forget what leads up to that. So he gets
Not
a coin.
much.
So we're on a bridge, and he gets a coin, and he throws a coin into the water. And he says, all right, if you find this coin, then I'll finally help you. Which, again, is like total. He says it not to us. He says it specifically like to Apple, right? So we're like, this is one of those things where it's like it's an undoable quest. You know, you're saying, haha, if you do this thing that's impossible, then I'll help you. So then the next night, though, of course, what happens? We wake up and we see Apple in the river, just tirelessly plunging her arms into the mud of the river, looking for this coin, which is a really touching moment because we realize that Apple is like so fucking dedicated to this cause. And I thought that it was actually a really lovely character moment for her, even though getting there was, kind of just like weird and contrived. And again, the graphics are beautiful. The mood, anytime this game has like these moody character moments, are always really good. So she's looking everywhere and she can't find it. And then we help her. And, and then at some point, a character who I wish I had written down who it is, but a side character. Oh, it's Nanami. Nanami says, like, oh, I actually saw that he didn't even actually throw the coin. Like, he just pretended to throw the coin while, like, doing a magic trick and pocketing it. You'll never find it. He's just toying with you. Let's just give up on this asshole. He's hopeless. But in a move that both shows Apple's dedication and does show how good of a military strategical genius Shu is. In other words, it emphasizes that, no, we do need him. He is this good. Apple will not give up because she knows that we need this guy in order to win. So she keeps looking for the coin, even though, again, we literally just told her that there isn't one. And then the player gets to control Toby, and we see a little bit of a shiny, and we click on it, and it's the coin, which is really cool. So we found the coin. And what ends up happening is, I believe the next day, we confront Shu, and we have to have
It's right there in the water.
okay.
Oh,
okay.
And something also, a really neat character moment happens that couldn't happen unless you confront him right there in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, well, what is it?
So you confront him there in the water. He basically agrees to help you. I don't remember if there's anything.
You have a one-on-one duel battle with him.
No, you don't.
Somebody else.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my notes are really
honestly, you've made a lot of mistakes that I haven't
sorry
picked up on. I haven't touched on because they weren't important. Like, you don't actually control Toby to pick up the thing, but it's not important. I wasn't picking them up, but this one is important. So he walks up. We have a talk with him. I don't remember the details, but he agrees to finally help you. And then it pans up to the top of the bridge above the river. And we see Richmond there. And he flips a coin in the air and is like, yeah, another job well done. So it's implied that he actually threw the coin in the river for us.
That's the important part that I was going to mention. My notes were so vague that I had to reconstruct what had happened in my brain, and I reconstructed it all wrong. But yes, the important parts are that he faked the coin, but Apple shows her determination. We find the coin, and then we realize that it was actually Dick Gumshoe who went and put a coin in the river all along, which is really a fun way of fucking owning Shu, right? Being like, You said if you found the coin, you'd help us. You lied, but look, here's the coin. Ha 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 ha. So it's actually a really, really nice little twist ending. So we finally got his ass. I don't know why I wrote that it was a duel. Who's the duel battle with?
It's with Yamada, the
bridge
sluice case guy. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to get because this is a video game, you have to close the sluice gate. And in order to do that, you have to.
Right.
Yes, you have to duel the guy who's in charge of the sluice gate.
That's right. It's not an important character moment at all.
I can't remember if it's JRPGs or it's Resident Evil 2, which taught me what a sluice gate was. Like when video games.
It was definitely JRPGs for me. Man, there's so many words that you only know if you play video games, like sleuth. I'm not saying it's isn't a real thing, but your average human being doesn't have that many interactions with sleuths.
But boy, if you're a gamer.
It's so, like, hold on. When I was in college, I studied Russian, and in order to improve my Russian, I decided to start playing some video games with Russian translations. So I found that there was a Russian fanlation of Chrono Trigger, and because of that, I know all kinds of Russian words that your average Russian probably would have no reason to know, like cyclone slash and shit like that, like all these like battle terms. Like I know the Russian words for all these like sword moves and shit. It's very funny.
Yeah, I was studying Spanish
Experience
a while
point?
ago. Yes. I was studying Spanish a while ago, and Netflix had the Spanish dub, the Latin American dub of Yu-Gi-Oh! On there. So I watched that, and I learned all sorts of useful words like card, deck, polymerization.
Yeah,
Mago Oscuro.
I grew up real country with a real country dad, so I know the word sluice because my dad wanted to build a fucking sluice so he could mine for gold in the creek out back. So,
oh my gosh,
that rules.
Yeah. So when I stumbled upon sluice gates in JRPGs, I was like, is this to catch gold in the sewers? But it's probably to catch other things in a sewer. Sewers are for poop.
In a slewer. So anyway, yeah. Shout outs to sluices.
Yeah.
Like just
for sure.
in general, and especially if they have like a special key you gotta find, like the sluice key. Like fucking,
oh my gosh.
fucking shout out. Like that's right up there with like red doors, skeletons. Like hell yeah.
In I believe it's Resident Evil 2, you go through a sewer and you have to find all these keys to activate sluices and stuff, and it's all the keys are chess themed because apparently the guy who was in charge of the sewer was just a real chess freak.
It was the police chief, I think, right?
I'm not sure, but
it was definitely like Twin Peaks, like Quizmaster puzzle, like chess piece guy. Like
Everyone's favorite part of Twin Peaks.
Yeah, everyone's favorite part.
Everyone's favorite, most memorable villain from Twin Peaks, the fucking chess guy. Hey, what if we invented a villain that like deepens the lore of the series by having it be like the main character's like personal nemesis? You know, really raise the stakes by making it personal to Dale Cooper. Cool. So he's gonna be like the like really dark and scary and like a super memorable villain, right? No, he's gonna suck.
He's gonna be a B-level Batman villain.
A very annoying character actor. Very annoying character actor. But which is British for bad actor. I'm just kidding. Shout outs to the character actors out there. No offense to any of our character actor listeners. So anyway, having gotten our military strategist, also at some point here you do meet a attractive young man whom makes maps, the one who was alluded to earlier by Nanami, and he gives us map, which is something that we need for like the way that the game's main mechanics work.
So Bernard, on your redo, you said you got Templeton early, but did that change Nanami's? Hey, I heard this from this hot map guy scene. Or do you not remember?
No, I don't think it did. You can get Templeton apparently early if you... This is just how I did it. You can go back to the mercenary fort, and you can't go in. You're turned to... And you just see Templeton being turned away by Highland soldiers, and then you meet Templeton, and Templeton runs off. Then you go to Toto and meet Templeton there. And he's like, man, everything's getting fucking burned down. And we're like, yeah, Highland's doing it. They're pretty bad. Want to help us? Want to give us a map? Because we could really fucking use one.
Yeah.
And Templeton is also the person who gives you the map in the first game.
Nice.
And you also, meet him by going to a place that has been burned down by the bad people, and his whole motivation in that game and this game is to stop the people who keep burning down shit, because it means he has to update his maps.
Yeah. So we call that the Templeton skip. So anyway, we go back to the town and we assess the situation. If we count soldiers, mercenaries, rookie soldiers, also maybe some women and children. If we really stretch, we got about 2,000 soldiers. The enemy army is about 20,000 soldiers. That's a bigger number. But our boy Shu mentioned that this very specific castle played a key role when the, quote, Scarlet Moon Empire invaded in the past. So she's just mentioned that, like, hey, in the past, this castle has been key to, like victories against far surpassing numbers, so we can do it, right? So the enemy, they have 20,000 troops, but, like, obviously they gotta, like, leave some behind to, like, maintain their already existing, like, garrisons and stuff. So they'll probably bring around 10,000, which is still a bigger number. But some of those guys are, like, from South Window soldiers. So they're South Window soldiers that were conscripted. So if we could convince them to defect, then it would be us with around 5K and the enemy with around 7K, which, hey, that's a lot better odds. So how are we going to do that? So it's a two-pronged approach. And you know what? I got to say, after building this guy so much up so much as military strategist, they actually do have him come up with a really smart plan that, like, I wouldn't have thought of. And it's a lot more complex than what you usually get from games, which is like, let's flank them. They'll never expect.
Yeah, try really hard and believe in
never
ourselves.
been flanking before.
Because when Apple joined the team in the first week, it's like, oh yeah, she's Victor's strategist or whatever, and her plan was an ambush.
Yeah.
So wasn't
which is what you usually get in video games, because it gives the player an excuse to be important. But also, I gotta say, like, I feel like so often from what I've learned about military strategy and tactics, which is not much. I'm not one of those military people, but I have learned a lot of history. And when you're learning about history, part of that involves military history. As far as I can tell, for like thousands of years, the brilliant military strategist was whichever guy thought about flanking, whichever one thought of the idea of flanking. And if you can do that, then you win. But then Napoleon came along, and literally his thing was literally the opposite. He's like, no, you flank me, and then I just go and I turn to the right and focus all my guys on your right flank, and I kill them, because it's only half of them. Then I go and I kill the guys on the left. And everyone was like, fuck, no one's ever thought of not flanking before. And that's the history of military tactics.
I'm just imagining that. I hate to bring up Yu-Gi-Oh! A second time, but the meme where, like, Kaiba's, like, shows a card, flanking, and Napoleon shows a card of whatever that tactic is called, and then Kaiba's
I think it's the tactic of the central position.
Then, so... Yugi shows the tactic of the central position, and then Kaiba's like being sent to the Shadow Realm.
Basically. Also, I know I'm loosely using the terms strategy and tactics. Sorry. I do know those are different things, and when it comes to non-military purposes, such as, I don't know, political organizing, I'm very clear on the differences. But with military stuff, sometimes they can get a little tricky. Anyway, in this
strategy can encompass like real-time strategy or grand strategy, whereas tactics tends to be more specifically something that is a grid-based, turn-based affair.
Anyway, things like flanking or central position are in fact tactics, not strategies. But anyway, our strategy is let's bring their numbers down by making them defect. There are two tactics involved in doing this. See, I'm going to be consistent now, so people won't be mad at me. The first tactic is that Freed is going to go infiltrate the Highland army and pretend to be a Highlander and be like, hey, did you guys hear they're going to execute all the South Window soldiers after we win the battle? That battle we're going to win, after we win it, They're gonna execute all the South Window soldiers. Oh man, did you hear that? That's the first thing. But that's not going to be enough to get them all to defect. So in addition, we need to do an ambush that lets the player be heroes. So we need to sneak around behind their predictable encirclement and take out Solange. If we can do both of those things, then the South Window forces will likely defect and swing the battle to us.
Solange Knowles.
Yes. We can do this, and this is again where the game really shows that they're actually putting some thought into it, because Highland has no experience fighting on the water, which makes sense because they live in a place which is lots of land, and this country is literally a bunch of cities around a lake. So, given that this country has a lot more experience with naval combat, we're going to go ask some nearby towns if we can commission some of their ships and their experienced sailors. And win with naval combat. So that's what we're gonna do. And if we can do both of those things, then we'll do that. And for some reason, they pick us, Toby, to lead the critical element of the battle. Do they give a good reason why?
Shu wants to, and Shu's brilliant, so he knows best.
And he also, at this point, has already mentioned our destiny that we will mention in the next couple of things. But he's like, oh, you're Genkaku's grandson?
That's
you
right.
You have the rune on your hand? Okay, cool. It's your destiny to do this. You go and be important.
That's right. And also, it's important to note that the reason they can flank so effectively is because the castle is on a peninsula. So basically, the opposing army is going to be can only attack one way, but they can easily just go around them on a ship.
So yeah, so we do the battle, and we win, which is great. We can say no to accepting the mission, and we can but thou must and stuff. And in fact, he needs to think about it a little bit. Let's see. And this is the part where I'm trying to make sure I've got it all. Yeah, so we really want to. Yeah, I wanted to mention this, but I guess I will. We really want to know about Genkaku, right? We're like, hey, our grandpa that everyone keeps mentioning. What's the deal with him? And I think it's important enough to say that they still don't explain about Genkaku, but they just say that because we're Genkaku's protege, kind of sort of child, that means that we're destined and we're important. No, we still won't tell you why, but we're going to circle around it and bring and really do a bunch of encouragement of you, basically. It's pretty cool. It's nice. So then we do the big battle and we win. Is there anything particular about how the battle goes, or is it just we won?
We just win.
Yeah, we just win. Our idea worked. We managed to make them, the big group of the army, defect, and we only have one small part of the battle. But after we succeed in all our small part of the battle, the rest of it works. So, hooray! After that, we all talk about what are we going to do next, and basically. What all happens? So a bunch of people join our party and we say, hooray, we won. And also they decide that they need to have a leader of the army, and they talk about it for a while. It's actually a pretty elaborate cutscene. And they're like, hey, even though we just won, let's not get too excited, folks. We still only have this one town and this kind of mediocre castle and a couple guys. We're not really doing that great just because we beat one general, right? So anyway, eventually they conspire to say that Toby is now the mayor of Townsville. So hooray. And then they explain that the premise of the rest of the game is that we're going to go collect extra guys and all this stuff. Later we'll find out that we don't just pick which of the 108 Stars of Destiny are going to be in our 6-person party. Yes, I know we don't get to pick all of them. Don't at me. But we can also assign some of them to other tasks, which is cool. It's base building stuff. It's hey, you go do this, you go do this, and by picking who does what, you get all these benefits from it. It's this whole game mechanical system thing. It's cool. So yeah, we accept the challenge of being the commander-in-chief of an army at the age of 14, and a gazillion people join our party. There's a bunch of conversations about people joining our party, people that we already know, like people who we've already talked to, like Nina or Rena and stuff like that, saying, okay, we'll now fight for you for realsies and not just be like with you for one mission. Also other people. And then we get to name our castle. What did y'all name y'all's castle?
So I didn't go this far because I thought I had already been named commander-in-chief of the army, so I saved at the part where it's like, oh, I need to think about it. And then I realized later I should have gone farther, but I didn't have the time to do so. So I haven't gotten to name the castle yet.
Yeah, I meant to, but I then forgot, and I was like, oh, it's like 5 minutes of a conversation with Victor about Genkaku is all that I'm out from being able to name.
Oh,
everything.
LMAO. Oh, sorry. See, I wasn't actually sure where we were going. I thought we were going to go a little more. Well, then I'll wrap it up then. So we name...
You're basically at the end. Like, where we were going to stop is naming the castle, basically.
Exactly, yeah. Because you said that we were going to, quote, not go to Two Rivers. So I was like, oh, we're going to go all the way to the point where we go to Two Rivers. But yeah, that's actually a bit more. So good, because my notes are, as y'all can tell, kind of flaky at this point anyway.
Did you name it Toby Castle?
That would have been funny. No, I named it Nerd Castle because everyone in this game is a nerd. Sorry, they're fucking a bunch of fucking nerds. What more can I say?
Oh, cool.
Anyway, what I meant to say is that what I meant to say earlier but couldn't find was last week we had to name our army as well. It's not called army. It's
unit or something.
Company. That's it. I named it Faggot Company, but spelled funny. I spelled it Faget, which makes me laugh. But I actually didn't write that down in my notes. I just had to remember.
Wow.
I don't remember what I named my company. I think I may have.
I don't either.
Named it. So in the first game, I named my castle Liberty Castle because we're the Liberation Army in the first game. I may have just named it Liberty Company because in callback to that, not realizing later I'd get to name a castle.
Oops.
Which we're not really a Liberty Castle, I feel, makes more sense for like we are internal rebels against this empire that we are citizens of. Where, as opposed to we're fighting off an invading force. I don't know.
Whatever. It's different. Yeah. So anyway, that's it for the week then. There's a few more things I was going to say, but I'm not going to because that would be going ahead of everyone else. And also, why not? We just named our castle. Good stopping point. I will say for next time, I will make sure to review the 10 minutes before this point in case I left out anything important, which I very well may have here. But yeah. We did a bunch of side quests, we got the gang back together, and we're going to continue getting the gang back together.
Mm-hmm.
The end.
The end. So, yeah, let's listen to some other Suikoden 2 music and then talk about our mem moms.
So I really love in this game how well they build up the Highland forces. In the first game, the Empire sort of didn't seem all that scary, but Highland is fucking scary. You really feel that these characters are pretty hopeless in the face of what's happening.
Yeah.
I feel like it's really good.
I'll throw in one. Most of my moments are dumb lines of dialogue. Here's a line that's just really good. Spoken by Con Marley. Quote, "Between the Star Dragon sword and the vampire hunting secrets of the Marley family, your time is running out, vampire." Yeah, I just want to drop that one. I'll drop more later.
It's a good line.
That's a good one.
I also, I mentioned most of these as we were going, but I really like how many callbacks there are to the previous game and how characters who weren't explored so deeply in the previous game get to have more shit going on in this one, because Apple, there was nothing to Apple in the first game, but now she shows up, she's cool, she has a lot of lines and character arc and shit. It's cool.
Love that.
Speaking of characters, Freed Y, the Y is short for Yamamoto, which is apparently an important family in the Suikoden series.
Huh.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't know who all is part of the Yamamoto family. Apparently someone named Sanae and someone named Yoshino. But
All right.
Is there like another Freed in the company, so we have to call this one Freed Y? Is Freed a really common name?
I don't know. But
I'm not seriously asking. I think it's just very silly.
I really like the dual dialogue because I like how it's supposed to tell you what their next attack is. If you're not reading a guide, you just go, one of the ones I got was, "Youch, nice one. My hand's all numb." And I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. What does that indicate? You're not going to attack? You're going to defend?
As far as doing mind games and trying to figure out what to do next based on enemies' behaviors, it's about on the level of Shin Megami Tensei.
Yeah. No, in Shin Megami Tensei, it wouldn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, they'll be like, haha, I'm so and so. I love to rip people's faces off, and you're like, okay, so I think what this guy is saying that he wants me to give him money.
And then you give him money, and he's like, "Fuck you."
And then he's like, "Fuck you." And then what you get to say is like, "Do you also want a cookie?" Or, "I think love is the most important thing in the universe." And somehow I have to figure out which of those things is what he wants you to say.
You say, "I think love is the most important thing in the universe," and he says, "Fuck you," again, and then he joins your party.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the Vampire Hunter. I thought he was great. His attack spell was really powerful, which I really liked. Really, let's just like throwing it out there of a 500 hit attack spell, especially since you lost like sort of your runes saved my butt in most of the battles. I was doing rune spells most of the time.
Yeah, this game's pretty generous with runes because your average battle isn't strong enough that you really need them, but occasionally on either a boss or... It's funny, like, you're very limited in how many you can use because it's got, like, spell slot style spells, but it doesn't seem like you have a lot. It's like, yeah, you get 3 uses of this spell. Oh, that's not very much. But it is a lot when you consider that there's very few times you need to use them. So, yeah, once you get to the boss, it's just like, bop, bop, bop.
Yeah.
That's good.
And then I think one of the heals that your hero does makes people go berserk, but it doesn't. You still get to command them, so it was like a very weird, like they're glowing red, and I was just like,
one of the heals is the neck lord.
So I don't know what causes berserk. I've only seen berserk once.
Just keeps going.
I've only seen berserk once, and it was in an early battle when Joey died. Nanami immediately went berserk. So I don't know what causes it. Maybe it's like the PEP system in Dragon Quest XI. I don't know.
I did read this game's manual because I wanted to understand some of its mechanics. When it got to the part about status effects, my eyes glazed over and I got bored, and I thought, I'll come back and look at this if I feel like I need to. So you know what? let's take a look. And I remember also being like, what the hell is Berserk? Let's take I'm going to pull up the manual, and we're going to find out what the hell this game's weird status effects are, because they're not the normal kind. Although poison is nasty in this game.
Right. Yeah.
Berserk is weird. It is unlike anything I've ever seen before. It's a status effect that lasts for an unspecified number of turns that raises a user's offensive capabilities by 50%. It also lowers accuracy, but maybe that's only in Suikoden 5.
Huh. All right.
And it's caused by low health of one ally and low health points by a character. So I guess you have to have low health, and then your ally also has low health.
Huh. So let's see what else we got, according to the game's manual, which then again, based on the game's translation, maybe the manual won't be that helpful, but let's see. First, you got regular poison. Makes sense. In this game, poison does last out of battle, but it does just wear off eventually, which is what I usually do. Silence is typical, can't cast spell, doesn't last after combat. There's also bucket, where I believe you have a bucket on your head, where hand-to-hand, which doesn't seem like a status effect to me. I don't think you should have to use a cure spell to do that. You can just have a person remove the bucket, but whatever. That reduces your accuracy by half. There's also, this has not appeared in the game yet, but balloon. A balloon is attached to the character's head. 3 balloons will cause the character to float up and off the screen. How to heal. A cure spell. Or balloons will also pop if the character is attacked in hand-to-hand combat. Next is lose balance, where you can't move for a turn, but you can do other things, as we've discussed. Knockdown is, at least according to the manual, the exact same thing as lose balance. Fun fact, dead, like out of HP, dead in this game is called unable to fight. Is technically, like, that's what it's called, unable to fight. Target means that basically you've got aggro. Rust reduces your weapon level, which is actually kind of boring. It doesn't last out of combat, so it's just like, hey, you're weaker. But it's because your weapon's rusted, not because we did debuff on you. Disunite means you can't do unite attacks. Paralysis means you can't do anything during combat. If you defeat the monster that caused the paralysis, you're healed of it. So that's fun.
Oh, weird.
Teleport. There's a status effect called teleport. The description is can do nothing during combat. Now, in the manual, every status effect has an image of what the character looks like when they have this effect on them. And I'm just going to send this to y'all in real time so y'all can see what the teleport graphic looks like.
They're not there.
Yeah, so the teleport graphic is that they're not there. They've been teleported away. So the question is, how do I know if my characters underwent the teleport status effect is, well, are they there? Next there's sleep, which is normal. And finally, shrink, which is what you'd expect. Your attack is by half because you're a small boy. Also, the positive status effects, anger is what actually this game calls it, not Berserk, which,
it's so weird because the names in the manual that you're reading are not what they're called in game.
Yeah. Oh, well, they're called in the manual, which is, it is the English translation, North American release manuals. That's funny. So anyway, anger is more strength, does not lower your accuracy in this game, according to the manual. Warm glow, it's basically a regen spell, and it's caused by an item or by taking a bath. There's also boost, which doubles your attack strength, but once it's over, it hurts you. There's also invincible, which makes you invincible, but you can't move. So I guess it's like turning... there's a move in Dragon Quest that does that.
Kaklang.
That's right, Kaklang. Then there's panic, which means that what you do is chosen at random. So I guess it's like confusion. But if the thing that the confusion makes you do is use a spell, it doesn't take up spell points. So that's fun. next is energize, which is the same thing as anger, but for magic. So that's the game's magic status effects, and they're weird.
That's very weird.
And I just want to ask, how many fucking status effects have you actually encountered in this game? How many times have you actually had a status effect on your dude?
I've literally
Probably not
poison.
many.
I've encountered poison,
Target.
and lose balance, and that's it.
Yeah, I was targeted once. Yeah. I was the victim of a targeted harassment campaign by a enemy called Target Lady. And I got poisoned once.
When I was cheating, I got teleported a lot, and I had no idea what was going on there because people would just be gone from my screen, and I was very confused.
I'm really looking forward to when we have a mandatory subplot side quest where we have to fight against Balloon Man, and he's like a D-tier Batman villain who his whole main thing is using balloon status effects on you.
Yeah. So on the website suikosource.com, their thing for the balloon thing has what it's cured by, and it's cured by fried fish balls or sweet and sour fish or crab cakes or greasy fish.
I got fried fish balls. I didn't. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So if you're ever trapped in the up house, just eat some sushi and just eat a lot of fish, and that's apparently how you get down.
All right. Thanks, Suikoden 2, a serious video game.
One thing, and this is not maybe it's a spoiler, but I know that there's a bathhouse sort of things because there's an item you get where you can equip when you go in the bath. So I think that's when all the relationship stuff and inner dialogue between characters is really going to come to a head. Future relationships.
In Suikoden 1, you recruit a guy who opens a bathhouse in your castle. And it's weird because like there aren't scenes in the bathhouse or anything. You just go to the bath and you see the characters in the bath, but you can also decorate it with all the fucking vases and paintings you've been finding. And if like you put the right combination of stuff, weird things happen. Like I accidentally put 2 landscape paintings and a bunch of vases, and then a bunch of plants grew, and I was like, what the fuck? And apparently there's a million of those.
Interesting. I'm excited for that when the castle becomes more of a hop-in place.
Yeah.
I like how apparently this is like a very systems, like this game is like not really a normal JRPG. It's this game that has these like big broad systems of armor management and stuff, but it really takes some time getting there because so far it's just a normal JRPG. Yeah, I kind of like that.
In Suikoden 1, it takes about this long until you can really recruit people.
Damn, it takes so long for this game to really get to its actual central systems, says me, the person whose favorite Dragon Quest game is 7.
You play an entire Dragon Quest game before you get the job system.
Yeah.
That's great.
What other moms do we have? I only have one more, so y'all can feel free to share all of yours.
I don't think I have any more. I think all the ones I was going to bring up were already brought up. I will rehype how fantastic the bespoke animation of Victor cutting off his girlfriend's head is. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in pixel art. So if you're a weirdo who listens without playing along and you haven't played this game, you should go and look up a Let's Play for just that scene at the very least. Because it's fantastic.
Or just play this game because it was really good.
That too.
Yep. Okay, one more. Okay, so basically at one point, as Anthony said, what's his name? Marley is a treat of a character. He has the line, ahem. And again, as we said before, doppelganger secret is in quotes, so it makes it even funnier. Necklord is using his doppelganger secret. In other words, he's a vampire with a powerful rune.
One thing that seemed to be a trend in the first game is that having one of the true runes just makes you not age. So apparently this guy took the vampire route with that.
Nice.
So it's all elected. He just dressed it like that because he doesn't age.
He just decided, if I'm not going to age, I might as well drink blood.
And
So what you're saying is he's not actually a vampire who lives by drinking blood and has bat powers. He's just a guy who's immortal, but also is a fucking pervert and a goth.
Yes.
He just likes drinking blood and dresses like a goth for fun.
Yes, I'm pretty sure just like he just has one of the true runes, it makes him immortal, and also maybe it's corrupted him in some way. But
I mean, calling yourself the Deck Lord just gets you in that same like you're not going to end up good. You know what I mean?
But yeah, in Suikoden 1, there were a couple characters who had true runes, and with all of them, it was mentioned that they don't age. So I guess Toby is stuck as a tween.
Yeah, I guess he'll have to find some fucked up way to occupy. I mean, I feel like if someone's immortal, like, given enough time, everyone's gonna get fucking weird in some way or another. Like, I guess it might be a negative view of human nature to say that, like, given infinite time and immortality, everyone would develop some sort of horrible debauched vice. Maybe that's not true. Maybe you would just get like really into model trains or something. But yeah,
I feel like if you're immortal, you're gonna go crazy.
I think if you're immortal, you're going to become a kick-ass grandpa and then save the day from a very weird guy with a giant staff out in the middle of an ocean in a airship that can jump.
I feel like if you're immortal, it's going to go to the
what the fuck are you
Highlander.
talking about?
Lost Odyssey.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. I get it now. It's a very not actually subtle at all.
Yeah.
Not really picking at the biggest touchstones of Lost Odyssey.
You're a kick-ass grandpa. That is the most important plot of the entire game.
That's true. God, Lost Odyssey is good. Let's just play Lost Odyssey again.
Okay, yeah. But this time we'll do Lost Odyssey poem % and just cover all of the dreams, none of the game.
That should be your next paid tier, is replaying games that you've played.
Just do them again. And every episode is like a 30-minute long episode where we're just like, yeah, it's still good. It's a lot more fun for us than it is for y'all, the listeners. Anyway, we should wrap this up if we're all dunskies.
Yeah, I am done. If you liked what you heard today, you can check us out on the web at www.rpgbook.club, where you can donate on the Ko-Fi to help us keep the lights on around here, pay for games, just generally keep the wheels turning. If you do donate, you get access to mine and Bernard's and our good friend Matt's side series called Book Club no Kiseki, which is the longest of long casts, where we are going to play every single Trails game, probably in release order. We have to decide that very soon, so we'll see what happens after
very soon.
Yeah, we are in the third game, which is when the playing order online and available in the US diverges, so we'll see. But
how many games are there now?
There's the three Sky games, there's the 2 Crossbell games, there's the 4 Cold Steel games, there's
a transitionary game, Hajimari no Kiseki, and then the start of the new trilogy or quadrilogy is Kuro no Kiseki.
You're in the third out of 11 so far. Wow. I'm just every time we talk about the games, I'm like, I really want to play them one day, and I think I'm deciding that if my current career goals succeed, and I do in fact manage to be a UPS driver with good contract that I win in 2 years, and all that stuff, and get more and more seniority, and therefore have more and more vacation hours. Eventually, maybe in like 10 years, when I have like 7 entire weeks of paid vacation, I'll just like take a 2 fucking week long staycation and play through half of the Kentucky series and do literally nothing else. And it'll be so like long term, like everything I'm doing in life I'm realizing now is so that one day I can play the Kaseki game.
Yeah.
By that time, maybe the Trails in the Sky games will have fucking been re-released on something.
Yeah.
Outside Japan, that is.
And Korea. Korea has the best version of it currently. They have the Switch versions.
Falcom and Korea have a interesting relationship.
It's true. But yeah, you also, while you're there, you can buy merch. I have a new shirt coming out very soon. I opened up Photoshop with the intention of creating a shirt. Didn't do it, but I did do at least the first step towards making a new shirt that'll be coming out soon. So you can go and check that out.
Is it the shirt from the New Year's Day Spectacular?
Yes, it is a Final Fantasy Mystic Quest text box that says, and I quote, "Book Club, you say the Dark King was the problem, comma, and you beat him, question mark, exclamation point."
I love it.
It's so good. So if you want an incredibly out of context, really bad RPG text box on a T-shirt, you're my people. So come on over to the Discord and hang out with us and all that jazz. But I think that I hit all the things I normally hit. So for RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
I am Doppelganger Secret Bernard Houck.
I'm not going to bother thinking of a clever name. Maddy Grace Alexandra Webben III.
And I'm the Neck Lord, Anthony Lerma.
Toodaloo, folks.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Video game.
Hot take. This game is good.
Yes.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I wish it was a little bit more mechanically rigorous. On the other hand, when your whole gimmick is that you have a gazillion characters, you probably can't be.
Also, you'll probably have to try a little harder now that you don't have buddy attack.
That's right.
Yeah. I will say that I really like how, even though this is a simple battle system, I feel like it works having 108 party members. Don't come for me. I know that they're not all playable. But having 108 people you can play, because you have 6 at the same time. And as much as I would love for this to have some Chrono Cross level 8th dimensional chess in every battle, I like that it doesn't, because I can still be like, oh yeah, this guy's good at magic. I need a magic-y guy.
Also, one thing I like a lot is that I actually prefer it when the game is sort of forcing you to use certain characters. Because if the game is like, hey, just pick whatever characters you want, I'm kind of just going to stick with the same guys all the time, because it's too much effort to use anyone new. And also it's just like more effort to think about. So when the game is like, no, you're using these people for this side quest, I'm like, no, this is great. If you're gonna have a game with a gazillion characters in it, I would like you to force me to use them. Don't make it up to me. If someone says, I'm going to join your party, congratulations, I just joined your party. I'm going to go hang out in the inn until you ask me to join you. I'm never going to.
Yeah, because if you tell me to pick, I'm going to pick Fargo, and I'm going to pick Glenn, and I'm going to pick.
Because we got a good thing going here.
Yeah,
having a zillion characters sure works better when you have 6 active party members as opposed to 3.
Yeah.
Also, I love how that thing that Maddy Grace was freaking out about in the first episode, where multiple party members attack at once. That's such a elegant solution to the problem of a battle system with 6 characters and fancy animations is gonna drag.
And the funny thing is, FF10 does this as well, but later, and not even as much. I remember when I was a kid, the idea that in FF10, if you like have everyone attack, like Tidus will do his thing where he like JRPG leaps forward to the enemy's line and hits the enemy, and then as he's jumping back, the Arn will jump forward, like as like they'll like overlap with each other. But this game does that like times 20.
Yeah,
and again also predates it by like 3 years.